What's up, Kansas City? This is Serenity, and we have one of my favorite Kansas City poets in town. Well, not in town, just
hanging
here, because I know you just went on tour.
I did, yeah.
So, Jen Harris, everybody.
Thanks for having me back. I really appreciate it.
So, let's say poetry. We're going to do this interview where it's based on the 3 P's. Poetry, politics, and pussy. So,
my 3 favorite things.
So, if you have some little kids, they might not need to watch this.
Yeah.
So, okay.
For real.
Let's start off with pussy.
All right, let's talk about pussy. Okay. Let's do it.
I want to save the poetry to the end. So, we were talking. Mm-hmm. You are a woman.
Indeed.
In the alternative lifestyle. So, with everything that's going on in the country right now, how do you feel as a female who is homosexual? Because there's not just the racism going on, there's sexism, everything. Like, tell us your journey. Because I remember one of the first times I heard you did a poem about your parents disowning you when you came out. Yeah. Just tell your own personal story about being homosexual, woman, all that.
Absolutely. Well, I think the sweeping term these days is queer. I used to just identify as lesbian, and I think queer covers a full spectrum of sexualities now. My story kind of began when I was 16. I came out, and it was not agreeable to my community, my church, my parents. I was disowned for a substantial amount of time, and we have since rectified that relationship. But mainly from the pulpit, there's the politics of everybody meeting heteronormative standards, and the church just preached one very specific message, and it wasn't love your children and love your neighbor. It was be a certain way. So that kind of made an activist out of me, whether I liked it or not. So I spent a substantial amount of my years between 17 and, I'm 31 now, focused on spreading a message of love, spreading a message of normality, and asking people to see us as human beings and to treat us as such. And that has been a really extraordinary journey. It's taken me a lot of places and given me a lot of opportunities to work toward, I don't want to say normalizing, because I don't think that's fair, but asking people to open their hearts and their minds and see each other, like I said, as humans. Yeah.
So you're very active in being an activist in the LGBT community. Like, explain some of the things that you're working on in that aspect.
I am currently just kind of watching to see what happens, because I just got back from tour. We'll talk about poetry later. But I'm focused on working with the Like Me Lighthouse. That's kind of my goal in 2017. The Like Me Lighthouse is Kansas City's LGBTQ community center. So they focus on resources and providing help and a home for everybody across the sexuality spectrum in Kansas City.
I've never heard of it.
See, now we're bringing you to the front door. That makes me happy. And it's for allies and people of alternative sexualities of every spectrum. The conversation right now is post-marriage equality being upheld by the Supreme Court.
I know that's a big fear now, as far as like with us having the new president. Like, is he going to uphold some of those things that were put in place?
Absolutely. Well, there's a mixed bag of feelings about dump truck being our new president, and obviously he don't mind.
I've heard all kinds of things of that. The dump truck is new.
God, I'm over it. But he didn't seem to actively discriminate against LGBTQ individuals. I mean, as far as the Republican Party goes, he seemed very liberal, but President-elect, Vice President-elect Pence is a real danger and a real fear factor, because he is in support of conversion therapy, which is brainwashing.
I read that. Yeah. So that's why I was just like...
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
But there's no president of the United States is actively going to be able to overturn anything that the Supreme Court held up. He could elect and nominate and put judges in place, Supreme Court officials, that could work to overturn that. But in the history of our country, Roe versus Wade could have been overturned. We have so many. There are dozens of examples that people will always disagree about, but once that final say has been made at the Supreme Court level, it seems to slowly but surely change the minds and the hearts of the country. And we've seen that across the spectrum. So I have faith that that won't happen, because the country is in such an uproar and so reactionary about it that it's kind of like, I wish you would. But we still have to be conscious and aware that our rights are not, they're just new enough to be terrified of being taken away.
So say again where the lighthouse is.
Lake Mead Lighthouse is, I believe, 39th and it's like 37th and Main Street. So it's lakemeadlighthouse.org. Shelley Wright is a country singer from Wellsville, Kansas, which is about 45 minutes from here. And she didn't come out for a very long time because her career continued to be more successful. And in country music, there aren't a lot of gay superstars, right? Yeah. Not a very inviting environment. But she wrote a book and created a documentary about her process of coming out, and was really uplifted by the LGBTQ community when she came out, while also equally battling the shunning of the country music environment and community. And so she started this lighthouse, this like new lighthouse in Kansas City, to kind of give a home to people like her, like the rest of us who, not all of us, but a majority of us who found ourselves displaced after we were honest about our sexuality. Like, I didn't pick this, I just showed up, and so it's really hard to explain to some people that, when I hit puberty, it was like, oh, I'm attracted to women. There was no discussion in my mind about that any more than I think most heterosexual people don't sit around and think, oh, that boy is so cute, I wonder why I feel that way. It is.
Right.
So they do a lot of incredible work in Kansas City, and they aim to be all-inclusive and to, learn from our history and learn from our mistakes, and to serve as a place that people can come and feel safe.
Next week.
Yes.
Next week. Politics.
God, yes.
So, as we know, November 8th was election day.
Worst day ever.
We had a candidate, a Democratic candidate, first female
HRC, madam.
Democratic candidate for the President of the United States, and we had Donald Trump for the Republican Party, and we have Jill Stein, and then I forgot the other guys. But anyway.
Don't get me started on third parties right now.
But we had an election, as we know, and then we had...
well, we had the people speak, and then we had the Electoral College speak, and the Electoral College continuously, every election, I'm just like, why, Bush Jr., for example, why are we not eliminating this? But
so, do you consider yourself to be a feminist?
Absolutely, I'm a feminist. I think I love the definition. Feminism is the radical notion that women are people. And there's a lot of misguided information about feminists are men haters, or they're always, they're so pro-choice that they're anti-children, and that is not true.
That's not true at all.
Yeah, exactly. As a female, I have the right to have a family as much as I have the right not to have a family, and I have the right to get married or to have my own life if I want it singularly or independently. I have the right to choose my sexuality, or the way I express my sexual orientation. So whether I'm in a monogamous relationship or I'm in a polyamorous relationship, you don't get to make these choices for me. And I very much am behind the feminist movement, and there are a lot of different groups that have different definitions, but I think mine is firmly rooted in actively working towards the equality of women in our country, which, as we can see from this election, just how much America hates women.
Well, there was the reason why I asked that. Like, me personally, I've been going down that road of, people think, oh, you were a feminist.
Right.
And being a black woman and being a feminist. So I was researching more womanist. I don't know if you're familiar with that term. I would say I'm more so that.
Okay.
But of course, we know the womanist views are very similar to feminist views, but it's more so of a woman of color type of situation, because there are different things that we deal with as females who are trying to empower other females in the African American community. So, but I wouldn't say that I'm die-hard. I do have some traditional views. I believe in the rights of women having equal rights, especially in the workplace.
Absolutely.
Workplace or anything of that nature. But I would say, like on a dating tip, I'm kind of old school.
Right. I fully respect that. I want the door open for me.
Yeah, I still
like
men to open the door.
Yeah.
I believe in chivalry.
Pull that
yes.
I'm
I'm not on that, he got to make more money than me stuff, because that's I think nowadays it's very unrealistic.
Right.
But I still think a man should pursue a woman, that type of thing.
Right.
And I think that throws guys off. They're thinking like, oh, you in the African American community being a strong black woman, it's like pictured as a bad thing.
Absolutely. Well, and I think it not to even I think it's seen as a negative across the board. It's like I have a lot of role models in my life that are female that whether they identify as female or they were born biologically female who speak up for their own well-being, and that's seen almost as a threat, so that your decisions are not being made for you. And it's incredibly important to focus on a womanist perspective as well, because the women's liberation movement in the 60s had this central core idea, and then they weren't very welcoming of lesbians. They were like, oh no, we can only work on one thing at a time, and it's just getting the straight women raised up, right? And then women of color were like, no, you need to focus on our needs too. And we created all these kind of branches. Like, we're all working toward a similar idea, but there's no way for me to be able to fully represent your experience as a woman of color any more than you would be able to represent my experience as a lesbian. So of course we have to work for our own individual interests.
But in the end, we're still women. So
right, exactly. This is our commonality.
That's why I think it's important that we work together.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the general election, as we know, there were, it was all split up as far as demographics, like who voted for who.
Right.
But it seemed they said more educated women voted for Hillary. And I was discussing with someone, it wasn't about, some people they're just like, oh, Hillary, she just was not a good candidate. She had her issues with the emails and super predators. And
Google everybody else's issues with the emails, particularly her male counterparts, and see how many people from Colin Powell to former presidents.
Trump is possibly under investigation for rape.
Yeah.
He basically admitted to wanting to sexually assault women.
Yeah. He's the Brock Turner of elected presidents.
We caught him in lies as well, because some people are like, well, Hillary lies. So Trump did not lie?
You can't spend an entire lifetime in a very particular public arena and not have everything you do scrutinized from somebody's angle.
Well, I feel in some aspects that Hillary scrutinized more.
Absolutely.
And then it's kind of, for women, if she had became president, it would have been very symbolic for us in the fact that, that some people say it's a myth. I don't think it's a myth. That glass ceiling that we have to deal with in corporate America or in any entity of work, she would have busted that.
Absolutely.
Because now we have a woman as the president of the United States.
Right.
And as we know, the United States pretty much shifts how the world goes.
Right.
So it's like, wow, that would have been phenomenal. But now
Well, I think it's incredibly humiliating as a country because, the people voted for Hillary.
Yeah, the popular vote they're still counting votes.
Absolutely.
And it's at Hillary. So.
Well, and I think that what it symbolized is that we as a country, we as a people, believe that women are able to lead and that they are able to be sources of power, and the death of the patriarchy, white America just death gripping onto their last hope that they're going to hold on to everything, ruined that. And Hillary's work, of course she's made mistakes. Of course she's been in the public eye for incredible nominations and things that she's done in the world, and she's also been scrutinized for everything. Yeah. I am not saying she's perfect in any regard.
I've never, and as far as this election year, I didn't say per se who I was voting for, but a lot of people just assume, you're voting for Hillary, because how my views
you're a woman.
are. And then I'm all, power to women and stuff. So, but I never, I never was fully out, I'm going to vote for her.
Right.
But, I voted for her. And it was more so, afterwards, and then the next day I had to do the commentary, because I was thinking I'm going to do the commentary. I was more so geeked about trying to say, we're going to have a female president. I just was that was so symbolic for me.
Absolutely.
And just not to have that happen, I was crushed. I'm not even going to lie, I was crushed.
I was in a hospital bed with pneumonia. My father brought me my ballot so that he turned it in for me so that I could vote for Hillary. And I watched that election alone in a hospital room and was enraged and humiliated on a national level. We, as a first world country, as a leader country, we still have not had a female president, and you look across all of the other major countries, and there are women, rightfully so, claiming their place and leading their country, and so much so in non-violent manners than their male counterparts. They're creating and they're functioning and they're making things work because they're bringing an alternate perspective to this experience. And when I watched that, my Facebook post
I remember you was going
was
out.
psychotic. I was enraged, and I put on Facebook, "This is war. I will not remain a patriot to my country when my country continues to tell me that I am not equal, but I am expected as much as a man to do my part. I will not participate in that. I will work toward women taking their rightful place in leadership and giving my nieces and even potentially children I may have in the future, female children, someone to look up to that they can admire and work to be like."
Yeah, because the next step after this is like, okay, when will we ever
Yeah.
have a female president? Like, is that going to happen?
Right, absolutely. Well, and you look at the potential candidates from Jill Stein to Elizabeth Warren. There are a variety, a wide spectrum of women qualified for the position or working toward qualification. They're dedicating their lives to being public servants, as Hillary has done, whether you like all of her politics or not.
Right.
And they're kind of, it seems like right now the white good old boys club is like, thanks for trying, but get back in the kitchen. Like,
right, get back in the kitchen.
And I won't have it
cleaning
anymore.
up,
Right, I have worked as long as I can remember to make sure that from a queer perspective that I have a visibility and am treated like a human being, and we have the same opportunities as everybody else, and we're still working toward that every day, changing people. But it is the same struggle as a woman. So, we've doubled down on the minority status, and the only positive thing I've seen come out of this election is that it seemed like a lot of the minority lines were erased. It was like, all right, I've been working for the LGBTQ community. You've been working particularly in the African American community. We're going to go ahead and just all start moving together because it is now an us versus them. And I'm completely on board with that. And I won't stop working until they lose because I'm done with it.
What's up? And we're down to our third P, which is poetry.
That's what I'm equally passionate about.
So when did you do your tour?
I had this wildly successful Kickstarter in July. July. It feels like it's been a really long time. A lot has happened this year. The Kansas City community, fan base, people around the country gave me $7,000, and I went on tour. And I was on tour all of September.
So I'm like, I'll be asking people for money. I can't get $7.
I know, right? I will not lie, it took 3 years to build that kind of fan base of doing a lot of work for free and really just showing people I was committed to my own experience. And oh my God, I twisted my hair so much it broke. I was grinding my teeth. I lost like 15 pounds. The stress and anxiety of trying to ask your community to believe in you that with a dollar amount attached, painful, challenging, but they did. They showed up, and I feel incredibly blessed. I went from Kansas City to California. I was in Florida. I was in Denver. Really, there were highlights in every city. There was just extraordinary. I was on stages I never thought I would be on, and booked it right about now in Houston in February, which is a huge opportunity as a spoken word poet. Like, it's the stage to be on, and it's just been a really amazing journey. I was received a Charlotte Street studio residency this year too. So
how does that work?
It's a pretty extensive application process where you have to basically plan out the next year of your life and say to them, I have this project or these projects I want to work on. Here's what I've done in the community to prove that I really believe in it and that how it affects the community. Here's what I want, where I want to take it to on another level. And
I know they had a grant not that long ago.
They do, yeah. They provide a lot of money to the
that
community.
seems more like kind of what I might need to do.
By all means.
Get involved in that,
yeah. You absolutely should. It's incredibly competitive, and it's very, I received rejection letters 2 or 3 years in a row. And it just reminded me I had more work to do. And I think as I started creating more as my book was published, as I was putting out more videos, really showing them that, like, I'm a diehard, I'm committed to this. They gave me a studio, and I'm working on it.
So this is a studio where you do, because you paint as well.
I do, yeah. I'm taking a break from the visual arts to work on this book, because my second book, which was part of my my Kickstarter reward tiers, you could buy the book ahead of time.
Oh, okay.
I promised everybody a second book of poetry, which is right now at about 100 plus pages, and I also wanted to write a one-woman show, like a spoken word show.
Oh, okay.
Inspired a lot by the show. It's a spoken word poetry show that's been on Broadway, and there's been a movie made about it, but for colored girls who have considered suicide, right?
I know that.
She did, her story is remarkable, and she's just a spoken word poet, and people didn't necessarily pay attention. It was kind of like, oh, we went to the show and we saw this really extraordinary thing.
More so until they turned to the movie.
Exactly. And yeah, well, she got her biggest hit on Broadway, but it was adding the choreography and adding the potential of music, and then, you know, putting it in any venue she could get it in. And I was like, that's not a half bad idea. You know, what an incredible thing to continue to collaborate with other artists and also turn to create a timeline. And then Beyonce came out with Lemonade, and I was like, well, this can be done. Let's do it. So I'm going to work toward that direction.
So when will the book be out?
October of 2017. I'm giving myself some time to get it done.
I definitely know how that feels too, because you're going to make sure doing a book is
it's exhausting.
Process, yes.
Yeah. Well, and to be able to, I have an open studio in April of 2017 at Charlotte Street, and we are required to kind of produce and show that we've been working on something. And my goal is to at least give a 20 to 30 minute preview of the actual show. Okay. I previewed it last night at Uptown Arts Bar and got an incredible response. So I'm really excited about this project. But it's taken a lot out of me. I'm in the studio about 30 hours a week right now, coupled with everything else. So I love it.
All right. So do you have some poetry you're going to share with us?
I do, yeah. I will. This current piece, it's called Lust and Disdain. I think that I am predominantly defined by those two factors. And so I am writing from the perspective of recently being back out in the single world and everything I have learned through romance and its failures.
Single now?
You know, I'm not single now, but I was single for a minute. So,
so new boo?
Yes, indeed. Okay. Yes, indeed. Things I talk about on camera. I'm like, I watch some of my old interviews and I'm like, stop talking right now. Stop telling the whole world your business. But then again, I get on stage and do it, so why not, right? So yeah, I'm going to share a new piece with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So tell people how they can get in contact with you. We have an old interview on the site as well. She talks about her previous book.
Yeah.
So on this one, she's talking about her new book. So how will people get in contact with you if they want information on the old book, the new book,
Excellent.
anything you're working on?
Yeah, you can check out poetjenharris.com or facebook.com/poetjenharris. Both of those places will lead you to videos, opportunities to buy my book, upcoming shows. I have a spoken word album out on, you can buy that through cdbaby.com. Listen to it on Spotify, on iTunes. I have done the work, so Google Poet Jen Harris, you'll find me.
Thank you, Jen.
Thanks for having me back.
I'm Serenity, reminding you to spit your piece, and make sure you check out whatsupkansascity.net. And remember, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself.
I'm IFBB Bikini Pro Cat Williams, and when I'm not working out in the gym, I'm searching the web on Cascade Media and What's Up Kansas City. So make sure you check them out.